What's happening, Pod Squad? Welcome in to another episode of Stripe It Like It's Hot. I am joined virtually today in you're in Nevada, right?
Reno, Nevada.
Reno. I feel like if I lived in Nevada, Chris, I'd want to live in Vegas. Is Reno nice?
Reno is really nice.
Is it?
We got a lot of good mountains, good outdoors here. That's why I love it.
Oh, so it's basically like British Columbia, Canada, then.
We got Lake Tahoe 30 minutes away.
That's awesome. There's a cool business event at the end of August in Vegas I'm going to try and go to. I love your state, by the way. I love your state. So let me give you a proper introduction. Chris Seger is with the CNBA. When I first heard the acronym CNBA, I was all excited because I thought it was Canadian National Buyers Alliance. However, even though it's not, it still can apply to Canadians. Contractors National Buyers Alliance.
That is correct. Yep.
Man, thank you for coming on.
It's great to be here.
I should know this, Chris. How did we meet? It was before Payvex. I remember meeting you in the person in Payvex. Where did you and I meet?
I think we connected on LinkedIn.
That was
and then shared some messages and then just kind of went from there.
Yeah, I tend to be on LinkedIn a lot. So I'm excited to jam with you here for a bit because as I've learned about the CNBA, just a super cool concept. And as soon as I say it, well, I mean, it's kind of in the name, Chris, like Buyers Alliance. But since I've met you, I've kind of asked around some other stripers in particular, and they're really interested in this idea. So it's cool that we're going to be able to talk about this. So give me we're going to get right into the thick of it, but the 30-second rundown of what the CNBA is.
Yeah. So member owned, number one. And number two is collective buying power, right? So we're using everybody's buying power and going out and negotiating national pricing based on, the aggregate of everybody's spend. So really trying to compete with the big national companies. So gathering all the small companies together, using that and getting better pricing.
That was like the perfect 30-second rundown. That was amazing. You must do this a lot. Jeez. All right. So tell me about you though. Your background, you were a mechanic by trade. Was that like out of like high school, college kind of thing? Like that's where you went?
Yeah. So I went to automotive trade school, UTI. Most everybody knows what that is. Worked for Mercedes-Benz for 8 years and then kind of went to the diesel side of things, or did go to the diesel side of things, and was there really started understanding fleets on that side, really got interested in that. And, I love turning wrenches. I love doing that. Just saw something a little more on the fleet management side of things and worked my way into DOT work. I was working at PaveCon in Texas as their DOT and fleet manager. And that's really kind of how I got into this and how this all started, because they were part of a best practice peer group. And there were 12 initial members that helped fund this and get this going.
Yeah. Like humble beginnings, eh? Like you can't really start with one even you have a buyer's alliance. So you had 12. So you've basically been involved with the CNBA since inception then?
Yeah. From the beginning, I was kind of working in the background at first, and while I was working at PaveCon, and then 2021, I really went full time and left PaveCon, and they're still a great member of ours, and I know everybody there really well. But really just saw what the CNBA could be and how it can grow and what it can do, and just got super excited about it, and just hit the ground running, and really have exploded from there.
Oh, that's super cool. So you were mentioning prior that your full-time initiation with the CNBA was driving in a car for 2 years, basically, and just like how did that? So this was like in when 2021, where you went full-time with the CNBA?
Yeah. So that was the thing is I understood PaveCon really well because I was working there, but didn't necessarily know all the other companies and what they were spending their money on. And then also, just kind of educating everybody what the CNBA is, how it can help you. So I kind of came up with this idea of traveling, doing some month-long Airbnbs and working out of the member offices. Again, to get to know them, educate them, figure out what they're buying. And that's really where a lot of our vendors have came from is, I'm in the office and a vendor walks in and I start talking with them and, leading me up the chain to find a national rep. started on the West Coast, worked my way down to Florida, up the East Coast, northern part of the United States, and then back to the West Coast. So month at a time at almost every member office. So it was a great experience to travel the country, but then also learn about all the different businesses and what they're buying. And when you're in the office, you can really help them understand what we're doing, and then also if there's a new member that comes or a new vendor that comes on board, helping onboarding them and getting them switched over to them.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was great 2 years. It was a blast. And then just like the business grew tremendously.
No doubt. Yeah. How many members today?
28 members.
Sweet. So it's going up.
Yeah.
I think like just even people listening, Chris, like I've had the privilege of chatting with you about this very thing, but a couple times before, but even people listening, I think the solve of the CNBA is pretty obvious, right? Like smaller companies banding together for larger buying power. Is there like a specific success story that jumps out to you of like the impact of the CNBA and how it helps businesses?
Yeah, I think it's a little different for every member, but definitely I think of multiple, whether it's painting or whether it's auto parts or something, just being able to identify that that savings that they can get. And then also, I think another big one is, a lot of different companies. I've talked with the owner of Dryco a lot about this. He had multiple people buying multiple things from multiple locations. And the CNBA really helped identify like who's buying what and where they're buying it from and why aren't they buying it all from the same sales rep or from the same company. And, just internally, they could save some money doing that. But then you combine that with the CNBA and now you're saving significantly more. So just kind of the control of the purchases, I think, is another big benefit of the CNBA.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah. Also just, combining invoices when you have so many invoices coming in from different places instead of just one invoice coming in and you're paying that invoice. So, just another good advantage.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. So when I, prior to meeting you, and even to an extent now, Chris, like I hear buying group and my brain, maybe it's just a simple Canadian brain. I don't know. I just think bulk discount, right? And because the concept is pretty self-explanatory, if we have a group that can buy together, there's incentive for vendors to offer it at more favorable pricing. Is it just that simple, or is there more on the table for members?
Yeah, so we do. We kind of have two different levels. One we call the associate level, and one we call a shareholder level. The shareholders where you're buying into the company, it's that member owned, and then you're also getting a rebate on the back end. So, a Costco and REI, things like that, where you're buying at the co-op, and then at the end of the year you get a dividend back. So those rebates we use to pay the operating expenses, and then everything else we push back to our members. So it is truly a member owned. It's not, we're not a for-profit. We're pushing all that cash that we have back to our members at the end of the year. So that is the advantage of being a shareholder with the CNBA.
Oh, that's sweet. So we have millions of people who listen to this podcast. We're number 2 behind Joe Rogan. Like, I don't know if you knew that. Just it's crazy. Just joking. We're coming for you, Joe. Watch out. I'm coming for you. No, we do have a lot of business owners though, and mostly smaller companies, right? A lot of striping companies, obviously, that listen to this show, but some seal coating companies and patching and paving companies as well. What kind of range of products and vendors are we looking at? Like, is the CN? I guess first question: is there a specific target for who the CNBA is going for? Because it's probably not just asphalt companies; it's probably contracting companies, construction companies. What does that look like?
Yeah, so it's been interesting. So we really started, focusing in on that paving sector because that's really where we started. But as we've grown, we have 30 plus vendors. And we're really identifying more, not just paving now, striping. We have PPG and Sherman-Williams in our program. Trucking companies, because we have Michelin Tire and Goodyear Tire, trying to work on Continental. So utility, earthworks, kind of, that construction space is really where we're going after. And we want to, when a potential member comes to me, trying to identify, what vendors really, stick out to them, or what vendors are they currently using. We have a ton of auto parts. So, anybody with a shop, that's also a big thing. We have shop supply companies. So, so not just paving. We're kind of expanding that out, beyond that, which is fantastic. I think we don't have any trucking companies yet, but I think that's just, we just got on Michelin, so I think that's going to be coming pretty quick.
Some big companies, right? Yeah, yeah. You got small tool companies on there too, right? If I remember.
So we have Whitecap, which does a ton of the small tool stuff. So they are our biggest spend, just because they carry so much, and they're a big national company. Last year, just 2 years ago, they bought up Ram Tool on the East Coast. So they really are, and they're just buying up a lot of geotextiles and different companies, throughout the country. So they're a big presence.
Your spreadsheets and your systems for your business suck, and you might be losing a ton of money in your paving or your pavement maintenance business. Look, our company recently switched to OneCew, and it is the only industry-specific, all-in-one platform for paving companies, for pavement maintenance companies, striping companies. It doesn't matter if it's like the sales cycle, or if you're estimating, or even if you're trying to manage your crew. OneCew has features for all of that. It is unbelievably effective. So if right now you're doing a lot of your estimating on spreadsheets, and at the end of the day or the end of the year, you don't even know if you're making a lot of money, I guarantee you OneCew will help you. It is so easy to make more money with this software. You'll love it. Here's the best part. Listeners of this show get $500 off of the setup fee if you go to GetOneCew.com/stripe it. $500 off of your setup fee. Take a free demo and have a look for yourself, man. GetOneCew.com/stripe it. Cool. All right. So revenue, or maybe not revenue, size of company, but like what would be the minimum size company you think that should look at joining something like the CNBA? Because I presume, like, if you're super small, right, and just starting out, probably not an immediate fit, I'm guessing. But yeah, what kind of company size should you be looking at this?
So I don't necessarily want to say company size. It's more how much is your potential spend through our preferred vendors. That's the main thing, because that's where you're going to see the savings. So, I would say, $100,000, $200,000 in spend is what we want to see through the preferred vendors. That really makes sense for you to be able to get your return on our annual dues, or then as a shareholder get that dividend back. That makes sense. So, that one, I would say minimum $100,000-$200,000 through the program, but that can be dependent on the savings you are with those particular vendors and things like that. So, there's a lot of different variables there, but at least a couple $100,000 in spend.
Okay, that's a good baseline. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and we have members. Our bigger members are spending 1.2, 1.5 million through our vendors. So, they got a lot of pull.
Gotcha. And I'm guessing they're shareholder members, right? So they're bought in. Yeah. Oh, that makes total sense. Yeah. Cool. Who's the dream vendor? Who's like the ultimate vendor that's not in the program that you want?
Man, that is a great question. I think Michelin's been on my list for a long time. So tires have been on my list for a long time.
You got them. That doesn't count. I'm
I know.
talking like,
I know.
Trump Towers or something. I don't know. Something.
Yeah. I think for me, like segments of what our members are spending money on. So fuel has been one. Fuel and seal coat have been ones that I've really been trying to break that down. Lubricants is another one. I've been working pretty closely with a few different lubricants companies, and we're really close with one. So I'm really hoping, because if you have a shop and you're doing oil changes, you're buying lubricants, so that could be a big spend. I think the fuel is the big one. Everybody's buying fuel. We do have WEX for fuel cards, but a lot of our members have tanks in the yard. So that's the nut I'm trying to crack, is how do we save a few cents a gallon when it's getting dropped off at your yard.
Sweet. Yeah.
So yeah, that's the big one, I think, for me is fuel.
Running these stinking businesses costs a lot of money, Chris. Yeah. Every striping company that's listening to this heard you say Sherwin-Williams and PPG, and they're like, "Oh man, yeah, I give a lot of money to them." So
absolutely. And another like area I've been trying to go after is hotels. I know we all work out of town. We all spend money, for hotel rooms. So trying to get that. That's another big one, trying to break through. And now, I guess now I'm thinking about another one's milling teeth. A lot of our members have been asking about milling teeth. A lot of them have mills, and so that's another one.
Absolutely. So, I mean, the sky's the limit, right? As far as vendors and yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's one of those rare things. And like, it just seems like a win-win, right? Like if you're spending the money, like why not be involved in this? And just everything you said earlier, right? Solidify and simplify where you're buying from, keep it all in one place. Like, seems like a sweet deal, man.
Yeah. It's really cool to see, and just different advantages of being a part of national programs. I think Whitecap's a great one. It's just, you get an inside sales rep that you can call. They do, Whitecap offers, heat stress training, some basic OSHA training, things like that are just because you're part of a national account, you get access to a lot of that stuff. We have DeWalt in our program. We get extra year warranty on batteries, extra warranty on tools. And that, DeWalt runs through Whitecap, but just kind of being a part of that national program, there's a lot of extra incentives as well.
Cool. Gotcha. I'm going to put you in the Wayback Machine, as I like to say. Go back to the PaveCon days. Cause you said you're like a fleet management guy. So that's your background. Yeah. So you know how to fix the machines, but you also know how to manage the fleet.
Yes. Yeah. I think that was really, having that background going into this, kind of knowing what our members are spending their money on, and, having that time in the field. I've worked in the shops. I've been there trying to negotiate some of these pricing. I feel like I can talk really well to a lot of our members just, because I've been in their shoes in the past.
That makes total sense. I wanted to ask you then, like, whether it's at PaveCon or maybe it was in the 2 years while you were in the car driving around to see members, what do you see? Like, what's a common mistake? What's something that like a mistake or a metric that you see a lot of businesses in the asphalt industry overlooking when it comes to like fleet management and managing their assets?
Yeah, man. So a big one for me is just like, the sweet spot, the bell curve of buying and selling equipment. How long do you keep that piece of equipment? Do you just run it till it's dead in the yard, or do you sell it at a certain time? So really trying to run those numbers and figure out what you're getting out of it. And then the other thing I see a lot of is keeping that old equipment in the yard, and it just sits there. And I see a lot of companies, there's still a unit number on it. There's still, it's still there, and like it hasn't ran in a year. It only runs, a light tower that gets 5 hours a year on it. Is it better to rent that piece of equipment? Like, let's try to really dig down and figure out if that individual piece of equipment is worth it, and then going through the fleet and then really analyzing every piece of equipment. So I think the two things for me is, one is like, do we run a piece of equipment till it's dead? And then the second one is like limiting the number of assets or unit numbers you have to simplify your fleet list and what you're maintaining and how many filters you want to keep in inventory and how much, just managing all of that, I think, is a big one I see a lot.
Yeah, man. I was just talking to someone here locally. I won't name names, obviously, but it was like a consulting type company. And I don't know if you knew this, Mr. Nevada, but it snows up here a lot, right? So this particular consulting company didn't do a lot of revenue generating activity in the wintertime. Not a lot anyways, but they had a massive, and I mean massive fleet of like half-ton pickup trucks. I think it was something like 60 or 80 trucks. So they basically would like finance these things for 4 or 5 years, and they would run them for 6 months of the year, and then the other 6 months they're just sitting there in the yard. And I mean, if you have to do it, you have to do it if that's the only way to get the asset. But I'm with you. Like, I'm a psycho about it. Like, we have a pretty robust snow removal program in our company. We do a lot of revenue, right? Like over $1 million worth. And we don't own very many snow removal assets because we have no use for them in the summer, like wheel loaders. So I'm on team keep the wheels moving, right? I don't want to see a light tower run once a year. That would drive me nuts.
Yeah. So we do. So this recently, I got introduced to this, but there's companies out there that will do seasonal leases on pickup trucks. So if you do use them 6 months out of the year, does it make sense to lease for 6 months, return them, and then get them back in the summertime again? So Yeah, I think that's a cool concept. I never had to deal with that being down in Texas because we ran year round, but um, we have a member up in Detroit, and they're in that situation where they're gonna start doing seasonal leases, and it makes sense because their guys, they're off in the wintertime.
Boom. There you go. Pro tip. Pro tip.
I will mention there's a book out there called Construction Equipment Economics. It is a fantastic book.
One more time. What's it called? I want to make sure I remember it.
Construction Equipment Economics.
It sounds incredibly boring. Are you sure I should read this? Like,
It is pretty painful. It is pretty painful, but it is a wealth of knowledge, and it's all about owning and operating cost of equipment. And like just what we were just talking about is, do you keep this piece? Do you sell it? When do you sell it? When's the right time? And just evaluating, really teaches you how to evaluate equipment. So I got introduced to it, I don't know, probably in 2016, 2015. Was doing a fleet management thing, and it is a great book.
I make fun of it like it's boring, but honestly, I probably should read it because that's not a strong point for me. So
I recommend it to everybody. Like, it is like it really, it'll flip your mindset about how you think about equipment.
maybe I'll listen to it while I'm falling asleep on like Audible or something. Just like let it soak in my REM cycle. Or yeah.
And it is a couple hundred pages long, and there's like workbooks in it, and there's a bunch of stuff, and it's but it does. I mean, it is great. And it says in the beginning about looking, like, if you have a certain problem, go to that chapter, go to that section, and read through it. And that really, like, I don't think you could read through it from cover to cover. You really just trying to pull pieces out of it and little nuggets of information. And everybody should read that book.
That's what I was picturing, man. I was picturing like this thick, like, yeah, the physician's desk reference of equipment, basically. So
Yeah.
Hey, while I got you here, because, the world's a little bit crazy these days, tariffs, and we're not even that far away removed from COVID. And I think it's really interesting that you joined, with the CNBA at a time when supply chain was a total wreck. Like, we couldn't even get traffic mate in 2021. I was importing it from like crazy places because it was that bad. So I'm going to ask you, put on your macroeconomics hat here for a second, simply because you're a little bit more connected, obviously, than the average person on vendor side. What do you see happening with supply chain tariffs? Do you see any issues, trickling down specifically for the asphalt industry?
So I've been doing a lot of asking with the vendors, and everybody is still at this point kind of up in the air. I've had some feedback that there'll be some price increases this year, but have not got any solid information. And I think everybody's just kind of like waiting for things to settle, but I feel like it's been like that for a few months now. And so unfortunately, I don't have any good info from any of the vendors. It's still just too much up in the air. But going back to your point about the paint thing, we were struggling a lot, and a lot of our members were struggling with the paint in 2021. We had members, Phoenix particularly Sherwin-Williams had a ton of paint in Phoenix, and we had members driving to Phoenix, picking up truckloads of paint and driving back. And I was trying to connect the dots with everybody to make sure everybody had paint and could get paint. And so that was pretty crazy through there. But yeah, for right now, I've been told there's price increases coming, but don't know how much or don't know when or any of that stuff yet.
So you're telling me you can't predict the future? Well, this is a bummer. I thought that's why you were coming on.
Man, I don't have a crystal ball either. So this is
That's fine. Well, what have I not asked you? We're coming to the end of the time here, but like, CNBA is super cool. Obviously, we're going to put like the location where you can find it in the show notes here for those listening, or if you're watching on YouTube, you can go find it down in the description below. But like, what did I not ask you? What do people need to know?
Man, I think we hit a lot of the big topics. So just kind of, we have associate member, shareholder member. Shareholders get the dividends back at the end of the year. We're always trying to grow vendors. I think that's a big one. Just continuing to grow vendors, and we bring you on, and you use somebody that we don't have as a vendor in our program. Like, I'm going to go after them. We're going to team up and see if we can bring them on. So really, I think just, I'm trying to, I want to help every member out. I want to be a part of your team when you come on board, and how can I help how can I help help you and save you money. And then I love spending a few days to a week at a new member office. So, while I'm there, we can talk fleet, we can talk any of that stuff. So I think my background brings a lot of that too. Like, a lot of the members will call, reach out to me, ask me a question if I don't know it. I mean, we have 28 members in the group. I can go, I know everybody, and I can refer you to somebody else to get that question answered or help figure something out. So, I mean, again, we're member owned, and that's what I love about it, is that we are kind of a tight knit family, and we're all growing together and trying to grow our businesses. So it's really cool.
That's the impression I got, actually. Truthfully, I'm not just telling you that because I'm sitting here recording a podcast with you. Like that, when I was sitting in at Pavex there, and there was the panel discussion about vendors and buying. Like everyone just knew each other in that room. A small room, but like everyone knew each other. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. It tells me that it's working.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
If somebody's listening and wants to maybe dabble know a little bit more, you want them reaching out to you?
You can reach out to me directly. Chris.Seger at CNBA.us, or you can go on our website, CNBA.us, and you can dial that number or send an email request form in there. But reaching out, email me directly is the best.
Sweet deal. Okay, we're gonna put all that down below in the notes for the listeners, and for you on YouTube, go check it out, cnba.us. Chris, you rock, brother. Thanks for coming on and talking about this. I think, man, if we could help out a few other businesses who fit in that mold, that would be awesome. So thank you for coming on, man.
Absolutely, man. It's been great. I really appreciate it.